A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism one letter at a time.
Welcome back to A is for Alcoholic, the plug in your jug.
Yo, you just snuck it in on me because there's no countdown anymore. And then you just did it. You just snuck it in. You were just like, boop, and I was all, wait, what?
Wait, what are we doing?
We're plugging that jug, dude. We're plugging that jug all day.
The audio, the podcast plug in your alcoholic jug.
Your alcoholic jug.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you're on your run, you're walking, you're listening to two middle-aged Gen Xers dealing with their problems.
My problems have been pretty mild as of late.
Have they? Good.
I feel like it. I mean, work is whatever. But I'm not fucking sick. And I mean, I know that's kind of, that's where we're at, right? I mean, that's the bar.
Not having COVID is the bar?
Yeah.
Or
it's a bar just for me.
Right. Not drinking and not sick,
Not drinking and not sick. But you said you were talking before about the michelada in the context and how you had a moment of like, ooh, that was
right. I knew you were gonna bring this up too. I should have just brought it up when we were talking, like right when we started rolling. But yeah, so we went out to lunch. We went out to show a house. I'll give you the long version.
Okay.
Megan went to show a house, and it was a person she had been contacting back and forth via email. So they weren't talking on the phone or anything. It was this woman. And so she's like, well, I don't even have this woman's phone number, but I need to show her this house down in Southwest Tucson, and will you come with me? So I went with her, and then we didn't have anybody to watch Olive. My parents are out of town. So we took Olive with, and people no-showed. So we were going to go get, this like shaved ice thing. It's called a raspado. I'd like to roll that R hella hard, but it's called a raspado, but it's like shaved ice with flavoring. It's just basic snow cone, but like a Mexican snow cone. Place is closed. Megan says, let's go to lunch at this seafood place we used to always go to, and it's Mexican, Sonoran Mexican seafood. And so I was like, yeah, let's go. And so that was my first restaurant in the whole year, since March. First time I'd been in a restaurant. And we're all vaccinated. Megan and I are, we're like 27 days into 25 days into Johnson & Johnson or whatever. And so we're sitting there with no masks, and she orders a michelada, which is, for you listeners who aren't familiar with that, who are on the West Coast, it's a beer with clamato in it and lime and spices and hot sauce. It's like a Bloody Mary, but with clamato and beer instead of vodka. And so they brought it out to the table, and they bring it out separately. And usually if you drink a michelada, you want to drink it. I don't want to get, you don't want to drink it with you want to drink it with a Pilsner, right? You want to drink it with a light beer,
right?
Like a light color beer. So they bring out a Pacifico or a Tecate or something, which is, I don't want to get all like horny on that shit, but so they bring out the Pacifico, which is one of my favorite beers. I hate beer, but I would drink that shit like water. And they put it on the table, and I had like a palpable urge to like order one, or to like be near one, or to like taste. Do you know what I mean? And it was all the context of being in this Mexican restaurant with all the murals on the wall, and everybody's socially distanced. There's like 6 people in this restaurant that seats like 50. And all the tables are far apart, but there's all these giant, beautiful murals of like the Sonoran, the ocean in Sonora, right in the Sea of Cortez there. And I'm looking at this beer, and I can like feel it. Like I can feel my mouth like starting to water a little bit. And it's not just for the alcohol, it's for the whole thing. It's for the salt and that fish and the lime, like all of it together. I just had this moment where I was like, but it's funny though, because the that seatbelt of recovery kicked in, where I was like, maybe you can order one NA. Like maybe you can just order one with like an NA beer, which what's a fucking NA beer? Like a gross ass Heineken? Like, man, I've never even had a non-alcoholic beer in my life. I never have. Why try them when I was drinking? But I did it because we've talked about me and the micheladas before, and where I make them with club soda and, drink a fucking bottle of clamato and end up with a salt bloat.
Yeah.
Because my alcoholic mind, the compulsive part of me kicks in, and I want to drink 8 instead of enjoy one. It's like having a coffee, and it's good, and you just know you only need that one coffee because that caffeine will get you through until you need the next hit of caffeine hours later. Typically, you don't bang out 6 coffees in a row Do you know what I mean? You're not
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna have 6 cups of coffee in one sitting. Maybe some people do, but for me personally, I don't. But with a michelada, I would drink 4, 5, 6 in a row because they had the alcohol kept fueling the fucking the beverage, you know, like
Right.
to imbibe it. And so I did have a little moment there, and it was that was like one of the
You
rare ones I've had in
yeah.
recovery, dude. Yeah.
You
It was a
mentioned
weird.
it too, like you said, this is where I remember the context of it was that I was often hungover and going to get that
in that
michelada.
in that restaurant, because we'd be hungover.
Uh-huh.
Megan would be like, "Do you want to go to Mariscos?" Because the place is called Mariscos Chihuahua. She goes, "You want to go down there and get micheladas?" Because they made the best ones I had, and there's nothing to it, dude. They don't do anything special. There's no bacon in it or a donut. You know how you get a Bloody Mary? You'd get a Bloody Mary back in the day, and it'd have like
Lobster claw.
fucking deviled egg on it, you know, fucking pork
Hub
shake in it.
sandwich.
Yeah, dude. There's like nothing to it. It's just all scaled down, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was a lot of the context too. It wasn't just the beverage, it was everything surrounding the beverage.
Yeah.
And there wasn't relief there. That's the funny thing. I will break it open and say,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like I was like, if I drink this michelada, I'll have relief, the relief of alcohol. I was just like, I want that salty mixed with that flavor. Like I'm craving that. So I don't know if it was a craving for alcohol or it was just a craving for that one kind of moment in time where there was like not a lot of I didn't feel like there were a lot of consequences to it.
Right. I think too, you know, it was just a moment in time. It's just a little flash.
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
I think,
yeah. And I didn't even think about that feeling until I started talking to you.
Yeah.
Like I let it pass and I was like, well,
do you think like you were so used to that context, that building, that like sitting there being like in such pain and hungover, and then this thing would bring you like in the past like relief, and so like maybe in some sort of muscle memory or back of your brain, this is like
absolutely,
this is where we get to feel good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely what it is.
Yeah.
You know? Which I think in early recovery, if you can try to avoid that kind of shit, it'll be really beneficial to your recovery, you know, to avoid those kind of situations that you know will put you in that mind frame. Because even for a guy like me who feels like, and time doesn't matter how much time you have because all we have is the day, you know, but for me to be like, man, I've got like almost 7 years almost, you know, like you know, because I get cocky, I'm like, I got this handled. I can be around drunk people. I can be around bars, you know, and then to go sit in a fucking Mexican food restaurant and be like, man, the eyes glaze over, you know, get all half lidded, like
half a Pacifico and some Clamato juice. Like,
whoa, dude, you know, and what was one Pacifico? It doesn't do anything. It just makes you pee.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've had those moments, and you say like early recovery, a month or two into my recovery, like maybe a month, 6 weeks, I went to go sit at the bar that I used to work at. Dude slid me a drink and I immediately took a straw taste without even like thinking about it. Cause it was like, this is just normal reaction to everything around me. You know, we've done it for so many years that you just becomes normal. So yes, avoid it until you don't have to, or
and it's hard to avoid, but there are certain situations and people to avoid. Man, all my drinking friends ghosted on me. That's fine, except for you. Then you're like, let's start a podcast. But all my other drinking friends pretty much disappeared, which is fine because they have shit to do. Their shit is to drink. My shit is to not. You know, it's all right. I was talking to my mom about this the other day because she's got a ton of recovery. You know, she's got a few decades on her. She's like, man, you don't think I'd want, like, every once in a while, I just want a glass of wine with my food? She's like, not always, but I do frequently go, God, big glass of red wine would be good right now. But that's just, it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like you just don't. It's just like the times that I would wish I could fly. Some shit I can't do, you know, like it just
because for you to try and fly, you would have to jump off a cliff
and break my other fucking leg or break my fucking everything. You know, it's just like for my mom to have that glass of wine, it comes with the next glass of wine and the next glass of wine, you know, over and over and over again ad infinitum.
What I really want is to drink without consequences. And I know that that's
we
not
talked
possible,
about this,
right?
like, I think the week before or last week when I was like, and I know it sounds like I don't want to say it sounds like a bold statement, but I know it sounds kind of like taking a step backwards when I said that a few weeks ago, or maybe last week, where I was like, if I could drink again, I would, you know. And I know that sounds kind of uh, the opposite of proactive. Do you know what I mean? It sounds like, but it's just in my nature, you know. And like you, and then that's what you had said. You want to drink without consequences, and I'm like, yeah, well, who doesn't? But me more so than anybody else, you know. Yeah, or at least in my mind, you know. Yeah, because I was life of the party, drink number 1 through 5. But I never stop at 5. I never stopped at 5.
No,
I only stopped at 5 when we ran out, or they told me I couldn't.
Right, or
And
there was nothing else.
Figure a way out to get 6 through 12.
God,
six through floor, right?
Trying to fucking, you know, trying to plan it out and be like, I'm just gonna have so much. I'm not gonna black out tonight. I think I'm just gonna brown out, maybe just catch a nice little buzz, and I'm gonna go home.
Brown out.
That was my what would be okay. Just a little brown out, just get a little fuzzy, get a little hazy, maybe not remember everything I said. I had these people come into the restaurant the other night, and they showed up in a stretch limo with their kid. And there's like this group of 4 people, and then they had to they were upset that they couldn't get a limo back, and I'm like, there's a cab. Like, I can't help you. Like, if you have enough money for a fucking stretch limo, make it wait during dinner. You know what I mean? That's what I would have done.
What a weird
but they were just a mess, and they were hammered when they got there, and it was just the epitome of just slop. And they were an hour late too, by the way. And it was just a whole fucking thing. And I was like, oh my God, that it like really there, but for the grace of God, like how many times have I been out with people and just been, you know, overly apologetic and overly like nice to the point of being gross, you know, because I knew that I was kind of fucked up and weird and like trying to
knew shit was going to come with you. Yeah. You were talking about planning it too. I remember when you worked at the Balmar and I would come up to you sweating with a sweaty 5 in my hand, already fucked up, and being like, John, just make me drink like you would for a sorority girl.
You know, sweet.
I just just make me drink, but don't put as much liquor in it, and I'll pay you full price. I just need to hold the drink. And then you would make me these weird Campari drinks that were like had a lower alcohol content, so I could still continue to drink. And it just never worked for me. I watched a movie the other night. I think we might review it. It was that you had sent me an email regarding this movie, this Mads Mikkelsen movie called Another Round. Was a from Denmark. It was a movie about 3 guys 4 teachers who try to experiment with alcohol, and they were talking about some fucking philosopher who had said, you know, every human being is born with 0.05 less alcohol in their system than they need. Basically saying if your blood alcohol level is a 0.05, like your life, you can skate. You drop your inhibitions, things get easier. And so they try to experiment with this and write a paper on it and show up to work like with that 0.05, which is like 3 drinks. And then they keep upping the ante, trying to go higher to the point where they're like, let's try to get to the maximum amount of alcohol we can get in our systems before we pass out. And of course, it all comes with consequences. Some people take it too far and shit. But it was just very interesting to think of the concept of trying to level off. And I kept telling Megan, this doesn't work. You can't ever stay steady because your liver will not process the alcohol as fast as you are drinking the alcohol. The liver can't keep up. Your brain can't keep up. So you can say, I want to stay at a 0.05 all night. But once you're at that 0.05, you start to piss it out and process it. And so you try to get that drink to get back up to that level place, but you always overcorrect. You can never, because it just stacks up on top of whatever you have. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're at a 0.05 and you pee it out and you know, drink some water, you get down to a 0.03 and you're like, I got to get back up to that 0.05. The fucking math and chemistry involved in that is like genius levels. Because
Leahy was trying to do that at one point.
Right. And so once you drink to try to get back up to that level, let's not say you're even doing it mathematically. Let's just say I want that steady, even buzz all night. It's not going to work. I mean, someone out there's listening going, I figured it out. But, you know, you just stack it. You're just stacking more alcohol on top of the alcohol you have. So you're just, you know what I mean? You're just getting drunker each time. You're thinking you're maintaining, but the whole time you're just getting more and more fucked up. You know, we could
and
never.
you're not going to process every single drink the same, and maybe there's
Nope.
food in between, and maybe there's
Mm-mm.
iced down water, or maybe there's not, and maybe you're whatever. Depends on what you did the day before. And
you need to be like laying in a hospital bed and completely perfect in your conditions. Do you know what I mean? It's not a night out in Seattle, in Ballard, you know, or a night out in Eugene, Oregon, between the 4 bars, trying to hit that perfect light spot where you're one straight line drunk all night. It never happens. Never happens.
Never happened for me. I mean, I try to think of like, there's never been like a perfect drunk. I mean, I can't remember the like, oh, I had the most beautiful night of just sloppy drinking all night long. Or
I've had them, John. I'm not gonna lie, I've had them.
I think I've had moments where I was like, this is great. And I remember sitting in Maddie's truck with him drinking fucking Sparks out of an Nalgene bottle. And I felt really good. And there was lots of fun stuff.
It'll never go away or whatever.
Something And I said, Maddie, I just want to be this drunk all the time. And he looks at
me.
Maybe
I guess you mean as far as like keeping it on a homeostasis base level. I've never had those. I've never been able to keep it on a base level, but I've had great sloppy drunk nights. That's why I kept drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if every night were a fucking sad Bukowski shit show, I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't have even started. I wouldn't have kept going.
I think because causes us to quit in the end, huh?
It was it's the mental. I don't know, man. The whole. I mean, we read a whole book about it, about the biochemical effect of alcoholism, but then the psychological effect of it too, where you do get those handful of really good drunks, and you're like, I need to repeat this process. You know, so, but then you have that other part of your brain that's like, we need to repeat, we need to just keep pushing this butt till the button falls off, you know,
until the incomprehensible
but see, you and I are, yes, exactly. And you and I are remembrance of it. It's different. Like you look at it like, that was all shit. It all sucked. And I look at it like some of it was pretty fucking rad. But it's not worth it. It's not worth it because they were rare. They were very rare. It wasn't every time, but some of it was a lot of fun.
And that context doesn't exist anymore. So for me to try and recreate that,
dude,
today,
you're a different dude now.
Would be ridiculous.
Nah, you got that AA fucking your brain all up too.
Tell me
you
about
go out and get a couple drinks, so you start feeling sad, dude. It's bridge time. It's like time to jump off a bridge. Anyway.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not a wonderful life. Yeah.
No, it is not. So I want to, before we get into the letter for today, I want to mention something that I am going to be a guest on another podcast called Rico 12. And it's not about the RICO Act. It's not about racketeering, but it's RECO 12. And everybody's invited here. It's going to be it's a live Zoom meeting next Friday at 10 a.m. So, well, whatever. I think this podcast will already be out. But if you hear this first thing, if not, it'll be out the following Monday. But it's called RICO 12. Go check it out.
What's the context?
So the context is the guy reached out to me and he said, pick a topic, whatever you want. I was like, I don't fucking know, man. I'll just tell my story or whatever. And then I said, well, how about cut the shit and do the work? And he's like, I love that, but can we call it something else? Because he's just there will be no swearing on this particular podcast.
Recovery podcast, though?
It's a recovery podcast. And so basically what they do, the cool thing is he does a live Zoom meeting and there's a Q&A afterwards, and then he posts it. So if you're only hearing this on Friday and you're like, shit, I missed it, I'm sorry, I should have said something last week. But it will be out on Monday, RICO 12, and you'll be able to listen to that if you want to. Cool. So I'm just gonna do my spiel about how I try not to listen to my own fucking excuses.
Cutting the shit, doing the work.
But we're gonna. I told him I call it "cut the junk." Cut the junk.
Covering podcast and no cursing.
I know. He said, if there's an errant dam or hell or something like that, but I think he was trying to make it as palatable for everybody.
Cool.
So, whatever.
Well, go listen.
I'm looking forward to it. Go listen to that.
You don't get enough recovery from us. Get some extra recovery on the side. I will be doing nothing. That's what I got upcoming. I got art. That's it.
Beautiful. That sounds. What are you working on right now? Is it a commission or
I got a commission. I'm doing the Atascosa Mountains, a painting of the Atascosa Mountains, which is in southern Arizona, and I will be working on a mural in a bar, actually, a bar that I had an art show at. I got commissioned to do a mural for them, so I'll be
No
working on that,
shit.
collaborating with another artist out of Tucson named Donovan. Donovan, oh, I don't White. I think his last name is White. Donovan's awesome though. I've known him forever, and he's a bartender actually.
Huh.
So I can't escape the bar world, can you?
Well, yeah, you can't escape the context, but certainly you can you're creating a new context.
Well, yeah, and they're the only people who'll show my art. So, it's not like I can go into, one of these Southwest places and be like, anybody need a painting of a shirtless guy with a baseball bat? And they'd be like, no, we work in copper and coyotes here.
Right.
I got to start painting those. So I've been trying to work on my copper coyote game.
So we're gonna do Q&A number 5. I've done a few of these before.
Jeez.
And I know, right? And there was only one question I don't think that we can fully answer, but maybe you have some thoughts on this. It says, I'd be interested in hearing about recovery after relapse, specific coping mechanisms, and how it's different or similar after relapse. Now, I haven't had a relapse.
I saw that question.
Yeah. And the only thing I can say, and it's from Strange and the Familiars on Instagram, is that every single the anecdotal evidence that I have that I've heard from other people, the secondhand information is I was not diligent with whatever my program was, or I allowed things to slack off, or I ignored warning signs when I should have heeded them. Like if I was feeling shitty or depressed or any of those things, like those
Right.
are the things being, I mean, it's like anything, right? You can't, if once you build muscle, you can't just go, okay, I worked out enough, I can quit now and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like it has to become a thing you do every day or whatever for the rest of your life.
Right.
So,
No, and I'd
I mean,
say, yeah.
like you learn a lesson in relapse. That's just what I've heard. And that you're like, oh, okay.
My advice, I haven't relapsed either. I don't want to.
No.
I want to say I haven't relapsed yet.
Yeah.
But I don't, I really wouldn't want to. But that being said, I also don't want to send that messaging out that it's the worst thing that could ever happen, because it's not. It's not. No. You relapsed. So what? Don't drink again. If you don't want to drink again, don't drink again. If you want to drink again, if you're a degenerate falling out of your car, fucking your life up alcoholic, and it's working just fine for you, go God, just don't drive the car, But other than that, like, if you really want to not drink anymore, you have a desire to not drink and you relapse, it's not the end of the world. You just dust yourself off and learn what made you relapse, learn what worked in your recovery previous to that relapse, and just keep working that program. Keep working your program. Doesn't have to be the program, but that's all relapse is. When I first got sober, I remember somebody hit me up on Facebook who I knew from recovery from my dad, and he said, they tell you that relapse is a part of recovery, and I think that's bullshit. You don't have to relapse. And I was like, you're right. I don't have to relapse if I don't want to, because sometimes people tell you, well, I have no choice of the thing I just did. Nah, I mean, that's where we hit that weird sticky line, right? Where it's like, well, what is alcoholism? Is it a disease or is it a choice you're making? And it's both, just like relapse is part of the disease and part of the choice you're making, there's no binary in it. But that being said,
I think that when you talk about the relapse and somebody says I had no choice at the point right there, then yeah, like if this is relapse and you're over here, there's plenty of choice up until you get to the point, and then boom, there's no choice.
There's no choice. Right. But it's like one choice that leads to having no choice. Do you know what I mean?
But I think that I now look at my life in respect to of all the choices that I have now, so that I don't get to that point of no choice.
Right. I'm having, for as miserable as I seem and as miserable as I feel most of the time lately, due to being in a position of transition, I like it. I like what I have going on right now much more than what I had going on back then. And no Michelada is worth it to me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just
Yeah.
not. It's just
No.
that option is the option's there. And if you relapse out there, just you don't want to be still in a state of relapse, well then just do what you were doing before up until the point where you relapsed.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, do what got you over the hump and stick with that. And the shit that you were doing that caused you relapse, don't do that shit anymore.
Yeah.
Reach out, touch faith.
Is that personal Jesus? That's
Yeah, I
what that
love
is.
Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to get too overtly spiritual.
Reach out and touch faith.
Reach out to those around you. But yeah, I don't think either of us can speak on relapse as far as alcohol is concerned. Maybe John could talk to you about ice cream relapses, but
Oh, it's if it's anything like, I mean, it's not a happy place.
the
I still
demoralization of
It
fucking
really
Rocky
is,
Road.
dude.
Yeah.
Fucking it really is. And I walk through the frozen food section that every time I go to the store, and I'm just like, and there's that moment where you're like, maybe it'll be different this time. And I'm like, maybe it will, but I'm not interested in finding out.
Yeah.
So I kind of just shifted my gaze away from that. I do have so another question, and this one's pretty simple, but Gina Velez from Facebook says, what's your sobriety date?
July 4th, 2014.
Mine's July 6th, 2015, although it might be the 5th or it might be the 7th.
We're like summer babies. It just got too hot, right? It was just too hot to keep drinking.
It was just, oh man, yeah, it was too hot and I was too heavy. If you know,
right? Do you know? Same here. I was like, well, I'm 230 pounds. And I've been.
Were you that big? You were that big. Were you that big?
Yeah. Right when I stopped drinking, I was like 220, between 225 and 229, somewhere in there. I was big. I was a big man. And then I lost like 20, 30 pounds from quitting drinking. And then I plateaued at 200 for years.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, and then I made it all the way down to 149. But then everybody's like, you look sick. You look like you're dying. Are you all right? Like, I'd have clients be like, are you okay? Like, literally ask me if I was sick. And then I didn't think about it. I just kept trucking along. And then I lost it fast too. I lost 50 pounds in like 6 months, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is, I guess, crazy. And then now I'm like 158, 115. I'm like, I hover around 160, 158, which my ideal is 155, but this is not our weight loss podcast.
No, but I always thought you looked great. I think you look
Thanks.
great,
I appreciate it. There was like, I'd get, nobody can't see it because I know this is a audio medium, but I'd get these lines. These come out. You have them too. Once we lose weight, like these come out more, where when you, your laugh lines, your smile lines.
And I feel like, and not to get off track here, but just briefly, I feel like I really liked that because I was so used to the opposite, which was being so full and bloated and big and round. And so I was like, yeah, I think I look better. Yeah. Even though people are like, don't get too skinny, which
that's really weird. Like, how would you
yeah, I'm like, I'm doing fine. I feel good.
Your body's gonna even out where it needs to be. It's not like you're gonna get so. That's so strange when people would say that to me too. And they were like, you're too skinny. And I'm like, yeah, I'll figure it out. Like, I'll get to where I need to be, where I'm comfortable. Right now, I'm like overcorrecting.
Right.
I'm like, bitch, I'm not fluffy. I'm like dying.
Exactly. I'm dying. You know, and
I can feel it. Yeah.
Like the shit is, I feel like we're at an age when I had somebody tell me, and they're about a decade older or something like that, and I thought they were in pretty good health, and they were like, yeah, I got diagnosed with diabetes. And I was like, what? Yeah. And it's like, well, you just not watching certain things and just allowing shit to happen, and then your blood sugar's just fucking high. And yeah, I feel like we're at this point where it can go very much. And I think that they're going to be able to correct that diabetes. Obviously, there's going to be some injections and stuff, but that through diet, they're going to, restrict the diet and rework it. But like, we have to be far more diligent with what we do health-wise, because it's only going to get harder 10 years from now.
Yeah. Well, your body's a machine that you run from 80 to 90 some years. It's a machine that runs from 80 to 90 years. The filters get clogged. You pour booze on it, so you're burning really hot fuel that fucks with like all the, you got to think your body is a machine, and pouring booze on it. Like I said, it's like a fuel that burns really hot and affects all the computer parts of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one thing that if you're not interested in a program of recovery, or you're not interested in the spiritual aspect of it, I mean, the health benefits alone of just quitting drinking have been amazing for me.
You turn pink again instead of being all gray, looking like a chud. I'd come out looking like Mr. Smithers, like when he was taking those pills and he was in the woods. They thought he was an alien. Peace and love.
Mr. Burns, yeah.
I'm sorry, it was Mr. Burns in the woods being like, peace and love. Yeah, that was me. Just geetered out of fucking whiskey and the occasional Percocet. Yeah.
Sober chick 17.
Yeah.
She just says, I'd like to know if I'm fooling myself by dating a normie. So I'll let you start this one.
In what sense? I wonder.
Well, I
saw that
know.
question too. I don't think so if the normie's cool, especially if they're a normie. I think you'd be fooling yourself if you're dating a blackout drunk. That'd be some straight fooling, dude. Fooling. That's what you're doing, dating a drunk. But dating a normie, can you hang? Can you hang with the one glass of Pinot every 2 weeks? I don't know.
Obviously it doesn't bother you.
No, my wife will smoke pot every once in a while. She'll probably drink a beer a night. Maybe now it's a seltzer. She'll drink a seltzer with my brother-in-law, my sister, and she'll have a glass of wine at dinner. Or, like she had that michelada yesterday in the middle of the day. It was one beer and she didn't even drink the whole fucking beer. She poured like a little over half of the beer into the micho and drank it and left the other like I'd say, the other little less than a half sitting in the bottle. So that, I guess the only thing, I don't know if you're fooling yourself. Do you need to date another person in recovery? I probably wouldn't recommend it.
No.
Because so I was talking to my mom the other day. I was like, I don't have any friends. Like, I really don't, except for like you you like
there.
Disdain. I said it. You. I just don't necessarily have friends in general other than the people who are close to me. I was like, I don't drink. So I don't have that social aspect of being able to go out, have a beer. Let's meet up and have a beer, shoot the shit, make some deals, fucking make some memories, right? And I was like, and I'm not going to make friends in recovery. And my mom's like, why not? And I'm like, AA people, they're fucking crazy. They're super crazy. And I'm one of them. And you can make some great friends in recovery, but I also know they're all fucking wild ass people. There's some crazy fucking people in the rooms. Crazy people.
So,
I'm one of them too.
Yeah. No, I get it. And I think a lot of people feel that way because either you find people and you connect and your only connection is about recovery, and then that becomes the sole purpose, identity, and focus of not only the friendship but yourself. And I think that's fine if that keeps you sober. And I think that I think about that too, like making new friends. And in my 40s, and or even trying to date somebody, and if somebody said, hey, let's go get a drink, and I would have to just say no. I guess it just would not be interesting to me if somebody wanted to sit in a bar,
right,
talk.
I'll meet you for a drink if they have good, you know what I mean? If they have good food, or I can get a Diet Coke and we're having and there's good music. If it's a good situation. But that being said, I guess the socialization aspect for me was I'd rather socialize with normies than with recovery people right now.
Right.
I would. It just is the way it is. Yeah. But I also I live with recovery people. They're my parents.
Right.
They tell me what to do all the time. I'm a 45-year-old man. I've lived a whole life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
but I accidentally leave like the garage door open, and what the fuck? I know my dad's listening to this on his drive down right now, and he's like, listen, I just don't want mice in the garage. And I'm like, I know sometimes the door doesn't latch. I'm sorry. I'm around recovery people a lot. So I think there is something to be said for the fellowship of the program, and for the fellowship of recovery. There is this shared thing that's really precious. In my few little handful of years, I have not really made it, only like one friend, like my old sponsor. Do you know what I
Yeah, and
mean?
you're
Like
not,
other
and
than
you
that, I'm also not in the rooms looking for friends. I'm in the rooms trying not to fucking burn my life down.
right.
You know?
That's another thing. I mean, I would only say, are you fooling yourself? Or you, like you said, is this person a normie? Does it concern you if they have one drink every 2 weeks, or or do you see somebody? Are you seeing somebody and you're like not sure of whether or not
Right.
they're? Does their drinking make you uncomfortable? Is that
Right. And
your
if it
problem,
does,
or
you
is that
should,
their problem?
well, and you should absolutely advocate for yourself regardless of the context and be like,
Mhm.
look, I'm in recovery. And when you fucking have that fucking Mike's Hard Lemonade, it makes me mad uncomfortable. So if you could not do that around here, I mean, I love you and I think you're awesome, but if you could not be drinking that half of Mike's Hard Lemonade in front of me, that'd be fucking cool. Like, give me a minute. Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
always advocate for your recovery. Always, every single time. And if they think you're
100%.
weird, well, fuck them in the face. Fuck
It's
them and feed them
true. And
fish.
I think that I don't think that it would ever, put your recovery first. You hear this all the time. And I think it's
You
pretty
should though.
true because
Mm-hmm.
there's no, there's none of this if I go out drinking today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and I
There will be
like
some of
all
this,
of
but it'll
this.
be a fucking mess.
God,
Next pod, just John sloppy and sweaty. Like I will
it's
know
just,
it too. Can't hide it from me. I can see it in
no.
your
Yeah.
face when you're out. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I know
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, there he is. There's like
But
a
then
tie hanging off the wall, another necktie. All of a sudden,
this,
Walter's in frame out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, there it is. Just smoking in a wife beater with Walter sitting next to you, being pissed off at you.
Jerry, you know what your
Oh,
problem is?
you need to
That would
get
be,
back on that pony. You need to dust yourself off and get back on that pony, Wagner.
I think I figured it out, Jerry.
Figure out the ratio.
The magic ratio. It's
It's
Pinot Grigio,
Pinot Grigio,
vanilla vodka, and a splash of Diet Cranberry. And you're
two cho-
good.
two choco tacos to even it out.
I haven't left
Got
my
it.
room in weeks. I got it figured out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a job anymore.
I don't need
Basically,
a job.
I don't need a job. Um, so this comes from Emily Davis Music. How do you get over feeling like the odd man out?
Oh, that's a great fucking question because I haven't.
Um, I would say what I have learned in the last couple of years, especially with like running and exercise and the weight loss, and now currently, the weight gain and then the current weight loss again, and dealing with all this shit, is I've just learned I like myself a lot better now, and I don't really give a fuck. And I'm trying to figure out, like, I think also that has to do with dating people, and you talked about making friends. If somebody's not interested in what I have, then I just don't care anymore because, well, also I'm halfway there, right? We're halfway to death. Like there's not that much time left, and I'd like
Nope.
to just
I'm
I'd
like
like to
nodding and yeah, I'm like nodding and shaking my head
and I'm
in
just like,
agreement.
I would like to spend it however the fuck I want to spend it,
Right.
and be whoever I want to be. And of course, I want to be, it's not like I want to be an asshole about it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also not interested in people who are going to tell me that, hey, I don't like the way you're doing things, or I want to make you feel like. I would wonder if this person, if she is, what's the group of people where she feels the odd man out? What
Mm-hmm.
is the context of being odd? Or do you feel odd because you
I
just
think
feel
it's
weird
from
because
just,
you're an alcoholic? And
yeah, I
like,
think that's what it is, right? That's how I took the question.
mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
if you're going, maybe you're in a situation, she's a musician and you spend a lot of time in bars because that's where musicians and artists go, is,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of, if you're with people who are going to make you feel odd, I think you just need to be confident in the choices you have. When I first got sober and met somebody down in Oakland we went and got spaghetti, we went and got food, and he's like, is it okay if I drink a beer with you? Or like, can I drink a beer? And I was like, yeah, man, you should drink a beer. I'm the one who's got to drive. I'm the one who's trying to
Mm-hmm.
not drink. Like, but you should drink a beer. And I think that really helped cement that feeling of, I'm not I'm not the odd one out. I'm just making a different choice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But it's hard though. It's hard, like when I hung up my art the other day in that bar and they were like, you want a cocktail? And I was like, nah. But then my brother-in-law had a beer with him. We all sat at this table and they were all drinking and I was drinking my Diet Pepsi. And because I like Diet Pepsis now too, but I was drinking it and I was like, yeah, I felt like there was something I wasn't sharing within the ritual of drinking, but also
Mhm.
knew that it doesn't matter. Like that's not for me. I can still
Right.
find common ground with these people, at least between drink 1 to 5. Well, after drink 5, just get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're playing music at a bar, then
You're going to be
well,
there
you're in
later.
it for a while. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So you got to really bolster your resourcefulness, your resolve. You got to really bolster that resolve.
I told you about when I went and saw Mishka Shubaly play, and there was a fucking drunk guy next to me who was singing along to every single one
Yeah.
of his songs.
Mm-hmm.
Probably had no idea the dude was like 10 years sober or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think I remember talking to him about it. And I think there was a certain level of, he's like, I'm just grateful that I have any fans,
Mm-hmm.
you
Which
know,
is great. Yeah.
right?
I just don't want to hear the same story over and over again.
So, but I mean, as far as feeling like an odd man out, I mean, I think it's something, me personally, I think it's something for me to fucking celebrate. And I'm just done.
Yes, embrace it.
I've just spent so many years trying to fit in and conform with even just among us.
That's the thing I was going to say, I felt like the odd man out even before I got sober. Even in my heyday of drinking, I felt like the odd man out because that's why I drank. Like the feeling doesn't go away until you learn to accept what you are. Either way, even when you accept what you are, you'll still feel that way. I don't know. You'll be all right.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, like, yeah, just accept those feelings. It's uncomfortable. Okay. Maybe ask yourself why it's uncomfortable. Is it somebody else or is it within you? And yeah, I mean, you will be okay.
Yeah.
Stay sober and continue. It's okay to be odd.
Yeah.
Right.
And steal their shit. Like when they get loaded, just take shit out of their purse. Take their lighters. They will never fucking notice.
Yeah.
Or important shit. But that's not a call to action. That's just a joke. But important shit though.
Do you ever get used to this? Bryant's77 on Instagram says, do you ever get used to this level of calm being in the middle? It feels weird. I only have ever been sky high or super low. And you used the word contentment for a long time.
Right.
Do you get used
to it? Do I get used to the contentment? I'm trying to think, am I calm? I don't know if calm's the right word, because it's not like the contentment isn't a permanent feeling. It's just little glimpses of it. I mean, I'm still sky high and sorry, I burped the hell loud into the pod. What were the two terms they used? It was sky
high and super low.
I've been there sober. Absolutely been there. Sky high and super low. As far as like, my demeanor and like what's going on with my mood. Yeah, I've been absolutely profoundly demoralized, depressed, sober. And I've been absolutely high as fuck happy, sober. And I've been in the middle, but I think I'm just like any other person. I mean, I don't know, even normal people who don't drink alcoholically just stay at that. I love the homeostasis thing, right? To just stay at that baseline. There is no real baseline. The baseline doesn't exist. But no. I think I have gotten comfortable trying not to chase the sky high, though, because I spent a lot of my time in active alcoholism trying to chase the really high highs, trying to chase them and capture them. You can't do that. It doesn't work. You never can. So yes, you'll get used to it after a while because it just feels normal. There'll be days where you don't feel anything and you're like, this is great. I don't have a headache. I don't have a stomach ache. I'm not mad at anything. I'm just completely still. And it's only going to last 10 minutes till somebody comes in here and makes me do some shit I don't want to do.
I think in the first year of sobriety, I would have these moments where I would wake up in the morning and even at that point too, I was very overweight, right? And I was very unhealthy and I was still smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. Same here.
But I would wake up some mornings and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm not hungover. This is
Yeah,
amazing.
dude. I know,
And I was
right?
just like, is this, and it would be one of the most tangible pieces of evidence that what I was doing was the right thing. And I was like,
Hmm.
I just couldn't believe it because I had literally spent the majority of the 17 years that I was drinking, like almost every single day. You used to make a joke about, I don't know, Walter or Kodo or somebody, or maybe me. You're like, yeah, dude's been hungover for 15 years.
Yeah.
And like, and it was true. It's true.
Uh-huh.
Like, I think about it, there was never, there was no like taking breaks. I mean, there was a couple, but nothing. There was no like, oh, I better take it easy tonight. It was like, I feel like shit. I better get
Hmm.
drunk again.
Hmm.
And then it was just over and over and over. And so to
Yeah.
wake up without a hangover was this, it just felt like a miracle. And
It's like a fucking revelation. Like it was like a new discovery. Like you had just discovered something new that no one else had not discovered. You're
right.
like, I don't feel like death.
Uh-huh.
Has anyone tried this before?
It's just I got, and I think that was probably the my biggest moment of like, oh my God, this is great. I have to share this. Jerry, one day at a time, bro. Just got back from the meeting. I woke up on a
uh,
Sunday morning.
I love you for it though. And you know
ODAT.
what's great is that you when you were in your ODAT phase feeling great, you were still heavy and still fucking chain smoking. So you'd wake
Yeah.
up, light up a cigarette and
Uh,
sweating and be like, man, I feel good. Like I don't feel bad right now. Do you know what
uh-huh.
I mean? So then
Yeah.
at that point, all you got to do is just keep leveling up, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think yeah, you get used to anything, right? You get used to the fucking demoralization, you get used to the drinking, you get used
Yeah.
to that over and over and over and
Yeah.
over. And so I
I
think
mean, you got used to the hard part. So get used to the part where it's hard in a different way, but not as hard.
yeah, I think if you're feeling sky high on a day, you should really lean into it. Not that you should try and like, I'm not saying overdose on feeling good or whatever, but you
Yeah.
should enjoy it in the moment because it's going to be gone. The same thing to remember too when
You got to
you feel
savor it.
super low.
Mhm.
It doesn't always work as easily, but I go, okay, I feel super low, but this is going to
Mhm.
pass, even if it's going to be in a day or two or five or
Well, and if you're
seven.
chasing it with chemicals, it's never sincere. It's
Right.
always it's all act of insincerity, right? It's never
Right.
it's I mean, it's happening. It's really happening, but it's not really the real thing. It's happening like a magic trick is really happening.
Hmm.
David Blaine didn't make that quarter come out his fucking other arm. Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's all subterfuge and little sleights of hand. And that's all alcoholism was to me. Those highs and lows, they were really happening, but they weren't really happening. You know, it
Yeah.
was always like a fake version of what is happening. So at least in recovery, I have the sincere version of highs and lows. I can be demoralizingly depressed and know that that's actually just the chemicals in my brain making it happen, not the chemicals I added to my brain.
Right.
You know?
And you just recently we talked about this and you said something to the effect of like, "Oh, I came out of my depression." And like you were feeling like specifically, and maybe it was from external things as well as internal, but that you had
Mhm.
gone through a period, and I feel like it was like a week or two or
I'm
three.
still in it. I thought I came
Oh.
out of it, but it was just a little. I just took a little breath and went right back down. Just right back into it. It happens, but it also comes with transition and change and
Mm-hmm.
things not being the way they used to be. And but that's part of the deal, man. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
drink about it because, like I said, trying to chase that chemical high, that whether it's alcohol or Coke or
Yeah.
whatever it is, it's just capturing lightning in a bottle. It ain't going to
Mm-hmm.
happen. You're going to get fucked up trying to do it. You're going to
Yeah.
get shocked. Yeah, it just doesn't work. You do it, maybe you get a glimpse of it once and that's it, you know?
But you don't, but you're not over there going, this is how it's going to be forever, right? You're
What, the
like, well,
sadness?
yeah,
No. Well, it's not even sadness. It's like depression's a whole different thing. But
right.
no, I know it passes because I've been through it. I've been through it in active alcoholism and in active recovery. So
Right.
I know that it's temporary. And sometimes they last a long time. And there's sometimes my baseline is depressed anyway. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a happy, joyous person all the time, as I portray myself on this podcast.
No
My
shit.
baseline is like some form of depression. It's just how it is. It's just how I
Mhm.
live. And it's
Mhm.
not a tragedy. It's not a sad thing. That's just how it is. It's just like a person who has a permanent limp and their baseline is a permanent limp. You know, it's
Mhm.
just there's always be some form of depression in my life. It'll never go away, you know. So, and I'm not going to take pills for it because I'm not there. Oh
Yeah.
shit. Are we going to start scratching on this in the podcast? I don't need that.
Depression and pills.
Oh God. Yeah. Well, I don't want to
No.
be like, well, I'm not that bad depressed, because I remember being an active alcoholism and being like, I'm not that bad of an alcoholic, yet I was.
Yeah.
So who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, you were. Yeah, I was. I mean, it's so easy to judge ourselves by somebody worse than us and then to feel better. And it's like, that's all it is this like judgment, and be like, well, at
Mhm.
least I'm not that person. At least I'm not that person.
Mhm.
I may have empty vodka bottles underneath my bed, but at least I have a bed. Right.
Mhm.
So it becomes this
Right.
like constant, you know, what's the word? It's manageable, right?
Mhm.
That's the manageability of it. Well, I sleep in my car, but at least I have a car,
Right.
or you know, and as far
Yes.
low as it
Mhm.
goes.
Mhm.
So I think it's all just the fucking, like we talked about before, the context of the situation
Mhm.
and what is really necessary and important for you to feel okay, and fucking
Mhm.
contentment. And the pain's not going to last forever. I know that specifically, and I always use this, and I always use a physical analogy, like talking about, you know, running and weight loss and stuff like that, because it's been much easier for me to see it and for it to be tangible. Like when my
Yeah.
back hurts, like the last couple nights I have this spot in my back and it fucking hurts, and then I got to go to work and I'm moving tables and I'm lifting shit and I'm on my feet for, you know, 6 or 7 hours, and I get
Mhm.
home and I'm like, I finally relax and my back just starts throbbing. So I'm like, it's going to be okay. We're going to go get the tennis ball. We're going to lay on the ground. We're going to rub it
Yeah, I
out.
see your tennis ball back there.
Yep. There it is. We're going to pop a couple ibuprofen. We're get some sleep. I wake up in the morning and I go, oh, it's better now. It's just
Mhm.
because that's just what I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah.
And I'll get it figured out and I'll get it fixed, and it won't become a chronic all the time problem. But right now it is. So, but I still feel better than I ever did before when I was drinking and weighed
Yeah.
280 pounds or
Yeah.
275 or whatever it is. It feels weird. Yeah. It all fucking feels weird. Like,
Everything feels weird.
yeah. So, I mean, that's okay too,
Mhm.
for things to feel weird. Um,
Progress, dude. What is it? Progress, not perfection.
mhm.
That's what we're looking for.
This is from Grateful Melancholic. How do I leave behind shame and just be publicly proud of my sobriety? I would say, I mean, for me, I don't think my first goal was to be publicly proud.
Mhm.
I was not interested in, honestly, in sharing it with anybody, or I was just trying to figure it out. Um, and I had a lot of shame and guilt about everything that I had done. And for me, he was going through basically steps 4 and 5 of the big book.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't, if that's not for you, if you're not interested in that, I mean, I think it's important to do steps 1, 2, and 3 first, but,
Yeah. Don't go straight to 4 or 5. Come on now.
but I think as far as releasing, and I still have some shit, like I found those old VHS tapes and I was like, oh God, why did I digitize these? I should just delete them. And I was like, it's just fucking gross. Now, I don't need to share every gross moment of my past with people. Um, but I think, and I don't know how much sobriety this person has, but I think that you can, after a while, you begin to build sobriety, gain momentum, and then you have something you can be proud of, so that when it comes up in conversation, because I don't, in my regular life, I don't talk about it with people unless it's brought up. You and I do this thing, and then there's like the A's for Alcoholic Instagram, and that's where all that lives.
Mhm.
But I think as far as me being publicly proud, it's more in just the way that I live, right? And so
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
there's plenty of stuff that's going to pop in my head and be like, God damn, I'm really ashamed of that.
Yeah.
I
You're always going to have cringe, dude. Cringe will
I
never go away.
right. And then I think that becomes steps 8 and 9. right? Is the make the list and say you're sorry. So,
Call, yeah, oh jeez, call them
and
motherfuckers. Be like, I'm
mm-hmm.
sorry, I peed your bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have found when I do that, when I have done that in the past, most people are like, "Oh, I forgave you for that years ago." I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, okay."
Or they're
So
like, you peed my bed.
you're
That's the
right.
other one too. No, it wasn't
So,
me. It was John.
so how do you leave behind the shame and just be publicly proud of your sobriety, Jerry?
Well, shame is like, shame is the thing that teaches you a lesson, right? I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what it's there for. It's an emotion that teaches you not to do that thing again.
Right.
There's your consequence, those actions. I feel like depending on what it is you do, it's useless. There's no use
Shame
in it
is.
to walk around carrying the shame of things you have done in the past that you've already tried to amend for, or things that you are actively working on in the moment to amend for or fix. I feel like carrying that shame around does you no service. It does you no service, so it's not worth it. I just so for me, so for me, there are things I feel really ashamed of. My actions, things I've said, things I've done, but I don't keep going back to them, obsessing on them, because they do me no service to wake up every day and go, oh shit, I treated my ex-girlfriend this way in 2000, and
Right.
wake up and think about it every day. It does me no service. It does me none at all. I know what I did was wrong and hurt someone, and so I make amends to that person, and then they either accept it or don't, and then I move on, because for me
Mm-hmm.
to carry that weight around, it doesn't work. I feel like it's kind of um self-absorbed, actually. It's almost an extension of one's ego, right? If you're carrying around obsessing on what you did, you're like just too busy looking at one little detail of the whole thing and
Right.
obsessing on it. So, and as far as like proudly, publicly proud, what was the I can't get the term right. What was it?
Proudly to be publicly proud of my sobriety.
Right. And you should be. You absolutely should be. Even if you're feeling shame, you should be. Even if you're feeling shame, you should be. You should be. You should absolutely, because you accomplished something that everybody, not even fuck what everybody else thinks. You accomplished something that you thought was impossible for yourself, and now you're doing it. So you should absolutely be proud of it. That being said, you don't got to mash it in everybody's face 24/7, but you should definitely be like, yo, I don't drink anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sober and I like it. I'm in recovery and I like it this way. I'm happy this way.
I'm
But
sober and I like it.
hey man, me in early recovery, like I said, I shoehorned it in every conversation. My first 6 months, first 10 months, I was like, "Hey, did you hear I was sober?" People are like, "Who the fuck are you?" This is a Wendy's. But I was really proud of it. I was always really proud of it. I'm still proud of it. Sometimes it's a little embarrassing to bring up if people don't know me, because then they want to know stuff, and then I feel self-conscious talking about it. But it's only embarrassing because I'm self-conscious about it.
Mm-hmm.
But not as a weakness on my character. This is just what I am.
You know what else has helped me become less self-conscious? I was thinking about this.
Green Camel Press.
Well, yeah, no. Jerry has every right to make fun of me for constantly trying to find some way to monetize this.
No, it's just the way the lead-in was just really funny.
Yeah,
the lead-in just sounded like you were going to be like Klondike ice cream bars.
Well, I think posting videos of me running shirtless with fingerless gloves and fucking orange sunglasses has been helpful. Now,
this is funny.
I know it's obnoxious
to
some, but
to me, but it's not really
you,
though.
but
no, I love it actually.
But it has helped me to like not give a fuck, because like if it's there, then I'm like, well, I guess it's there. It's already out in the ether, and I'm fucking flabby, and I'm 44, and it's hot out, and I got fingerless leather gloves on.
That's just Naked John. That's just the new sober incarnation of Naked John. I love it. I give you shit about it, but I do it in. I'm an asshole, because it really is you just being who you are, right? That's just Naked John, but not drunk and waving his penis at people.
Right.
Yeah.
And for those,
do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just that aspect of your personality.
I do want to give a quick little A is for Alcoholic history lesson here. Naked John was I had a propensity for just stripping down when I get drunk, not even blackout. I would just get drunk. We'd be at a house, usually at a house party. It was never in public, although that happened at parks. Fucking like if there was a lake or something, I would just get naked and jump in the lake.
Most places you can get naked at.
Right, most places,
Mhm.
but you know, and
We should be
there's
anywhere.
multiple stories, but just in general, that was a propensity I had, especially if I was at my own house, because I just felt more comfortable and I could just fucking go, you know, oh, I'm just putting a different pair of pants on. What do you want? Hey
Mhm.
guys, look at me, shock and awe. But
Right.
and then Jerry and I used to go read poems at this place. I was thinking about that too the other day, how we used to like get in front of the typewriter like a couple hours before, and we'd be drinking whiskey and like, let's type up some poems to go read right now. And it was usually just fucking drunk bullshit. But
Mhm.
Jerry wrote this whole like elaborate poem about Naked John, and this whole myth became around the Eugene poetry community for
Which is even funny to say that as an adult. You know, in
right
the Eugene poetry scene, I was people like, fucking
what
what, dude?
of
Where's your? You gonna
1998
do
to
some close up?
99.
Yeah, you gonna do some close up magic now? Where's your fedora?
So so I think that, yeah, you're right, that is just
I
a
guess it's just
sober
more
incarnation.
of your exhibitionist streak.
Yes.
This streak you have. So for me, I give you a hard time about it because I'm like, why are you doing that? But I remember years ago you were doing something similar, which was not as productive at all,
Right.
which was the opposite. It was destructive. So I'm happy for you. The only thing that's driving me nuts is your feet. You did that on purpose. John put up this Instagram story of like he does his daily affirmations, which I also am like, why are you putting your daily affirmations there? But this is part of your process. It's not for me.
It's gonna go to the next question, but
It's
yes.
not for me to choose. And then you did it. You purposefully put your feet in that last picture. I can just see your bare feet right under the. Because you know I give you a hard time about your daily affirmations and your feet, and you mix them together. And I was just like, I'm done, dude.
Christ.
Podcast over.
Muted.
Muted is what
Muted.
I wrote. I didn't mute you. I can't.
No, but
no. It's
well,
funny.
I was like, well, I mean, and here's the other thing, like the whole internet thing, like I understand that I have real life and how I go through real life. And like, granted, you know, my internet life, or what, I don't know how you want to call it, digital, virtual,
Your
whatever,
persona.
my persona,
You're
like it's
you're
got
like Lawnmower Man, dude. Come on.
who was that actor? I liked him. He was
He
kind
was
of
on Lost. Yeah.
yeah. Was he the pilot on Lost? Was that the guy
Yeah.
from Lawn? Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
That was
I
what was
believe
his
so,
name?
yeah.
Holy shit.
I know I'll have to look it up.
He was it was like LaFleur or something like that.
On
Or what
Lost,
was,
his name is LaFleur, but
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I'll look it up.
What was I saying?
You're talking about your digital lawnmower service.
I know it's gotten a lot more over the last year just because, you know, fucking pandemic or whatever, but
Right.
like I'm aware that it's ridiculous, and I'm aware that, and I think but I think that's part of me utilizing it to kind of just throw shit up there and then be like, well, it's out. I don't feel self-conscious anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've got plenty to feel ashamed about. I don't need to feel ashamed about the things that I'm doing today.
Yeah, you don't.
So
Ready?
I think too that in active alcoholism, I was doing so much all the time that I was ashamed of that was a base feeling, right? That was the fucking homeostasis feeling, ashamed of everything or not knowing what I was supposed to be ashamed about. So now it's like, should I share? Should I do this? Is this authentically me? It feels kind of fake and phony and like stupid.
Yeah.
Like, should I hit the share button? Should I? And it's like, I gave up on that too, because I was like, I don't fucking care. It's so ephemeral anyway, right? Like,
it really is. Yeah, because I was about to say majority of what I post online is not genuine because I'm trying to sell you something. I'm trying to sell you a painting. There are times where I'll write these long screeds about what's going on, and usually when I'm writing, if I only post on Instagram, that's the only social media I do. I barely even post on Reddit. And so if you're looking at myself on Instagram and you see a giant paragraph, I usually sat there and wrote that in the moment. It's like what's tumbling around in my head. And that's usually pretty sincere. But anything else is all just like, buy some art for me, or hey, I'm running and my arm looks good in this picture, you know, or whatever it is, you know. But and I know on your end, it's part of the John persona. I really know it is. I just like, I have always liked fucking with you. So
I'm very yes, I've made friends with a lot of people who like fucking with me. It seems to be
well, and so I don't even know, like, do you have a TikTok following? Like when you tell your jokes, are people like, that's a good one, you know?
there's
Like,
like 3 people who actually interact, but there's like, I don't know, 300. I don't know. It's just it's usually like one or two or maybe 3 people that interact. So no,
mhm.
there's not a huge following of
I was
any
just
kind.
wondering if you had like a big following where you're like, why did the banana blah blah? Because it was appealing. And
Yes.
then boing, like some fucking sound effect or something. And I'm like,
That's good. I should get some sound effects in there.
you
Boing.
should boing.
That's
Or the
Jackie the Joke Man Martling.
Mhm.
Yes. No.
You're making notes right now. Get sound
Get
effects and a
sound
little
effects.
whiteboard in your lap. Mm-hmm.
Get the fart. The fart box.
Wow, you need like a foghorn.
Brr, 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 brr.
Mm-hmm.
Randy.
That's a good
Um,
one.
so the last question comes from Mike Regan. Uh, and I know him from Stockton, and he does he actually found us, and he had invited me to go speak at a meeting there
Oh, okay.
here.
I thought you were doing some shit in Stockton. You're like, I had some business in Stockton. Had some
And
business meetings. Had some BMs. Some
had some
business
BMs.
meetings. Yeah.
So he says, you're speaking of affirmations and stuff like that. And right, he says, why is journaling a major part of your recovery? I know, he says, I know, but a good topic. You push me to write whenever we talk.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes Michael asks me questions, and I don't really always have the answers. And the biggest thing, and not just in recovery anymore, because I don't always think about it and it's not always what I'm writing about, but it started with this book called The Artist's Way. And if you're not big on homework, you're not going to be into it. But it like has a whole workbook, and you go week by week, and you do the reading and the writing, and you do the little events and things and all this stuff. And but one of the things that the big one in there, and a lot of people um, have found helpful, is the morning pages. And so it starts off with, I think she just says, do 3 pages a day. And that used to be a fucking chore to do 3 pages a day. And if you just go and write 3 pages, it'll take you about 12 minutes. It doesn't take very long, maybe 15. But so now I've just gotten to the point where I sit down for 30 minutes. Sometimes I set a timer, or I'll just play, like I'll find some ambient music that I know is like 25, 30 minutes, and I'll just play it and I'll just write. And if I don't have anything to say, I'm like, yeah, the coffee was pretty good. I put too much cinnamon in it. There seems to be a new bird in the yard, or it's a sunny day. Like it's so now, but this gets it going, right? So this is not really for everybody or anybody except for myself. But I've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years now, maybe 4 years. I should pull all the books out. And like, it's just at a certain point, like a page and a half or 2 pages, something will click, and then I'll be like, oh, that's the thing that's bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh, that's the thing that I think is bothering me. And then find out, oh, later, oh, it's really this thing. So all that shit that I wake up with, and I go, huh, Jerry didn't like my post about my affirmations, which I was just trying to share, right? I was just like, this is just kind of what I do. You don't have to do this. And I don't do it every single day where I'm like, I am kind, I am powerful, I am. But for me, it was like, okay, I just want to feel these things. And it was one of those days where I'm not going to have much interaction. So I'm just going to say this to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so, but I often will find whatever I'm looking for and just get those thoughts out. And so that's kind of why journaling has been helpful to me, especially when you're got all this shit rolling around in your head in early recovery, and you're like, I don't know how to fix this.
Yeah.
And you don't have to fucking know how to write. You don't have to
No.
know how to write well. It's not for anybody. You're not being graded. It's literally just to get, a lot of it is just to get the garbage out of my head. And
Mm-hmm.
so I've upped it to about 30 minutes a day, which I just set my alarm a little bit early. And then I wake up and I have my coffee, and either I'll read my book or write, or swap that. And I have just found it personally helpful to getting through the weird thoughts and getting them out. Or sometimes I have an epiphany, and sometimes I just sit out the window and write a couple pages, and that's it. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you feel. I know you're not a journaler, but
No. I forget that you live alone. I do, and that's why you do that sometimes, because you're not really talking to anybody or expressing those things. Not that I walk out in the kitchen and tell my mom I'm powerful. She'd be like, "You're fucking crazy. Get the fuck out of here." But you know, like you don't have that interaction I have with I have with 8 other people.
So it's different.
But even in Eugene, I didn't really journal. I just never journaled. I just have never expressed because I draw and I paint. So if I have to express something complex, I guess I just get it out. I express myself in that way, you know. Or I always made like music, so I would express it in that manner. But nah, man, it just journaling doesn't work for me. Even in recovery, it didn't work for me. Even doing the steps, like doing the 4-step and writing it down, I didn't like it. Like I just.
Well, it's not. You're not supposed to like it, Jerry.
You're supposed to love it. You're supposed to be like in ecstatic ecstasy the entire time, just in a state of complete ecstasy.
Like a roller coaster ride.
Just enjoying the hell out of it, you know? Yeah.
But yeah, so that's, I just, yeah, I don't know. It just helps me collect my thoughts.
But you've always, that's your process. You've always written though. Even when you were drinking, you wrote, even if it was nothing, you were still writing something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas I wrote poems just so girls would like me.
Would you say that your poems were more written to be perceived rather than yeah.
Absolutely. It was all performative. I love writing poems though.
And you've shared some stuff that I'm like, wow, that's really good. And there was one that I took and I made a little movie with Joe Valentino's music.
Right. It was just lyrics to a 3 Doors Down song, dude.
that you stole. Yeah.
If I go crazy, will you still call me Superman? Is that 3 Doors Down? I don't know who that is.
No, that's
Puddle of Mud.
Yes, it is. It is 3 Doors Down. I was thinking of 3-Eyed Blind.
Oh no, what was the other one? I remember hearing this story. It was like from a teacher. It was a teacher I knew who was telling another teacher I knew. We were all at a barbecue and she was like, "Oh, one of my students, he's this really troubled student and he wrote this beautiful poem and it like really touched my heart." And she's like, and I have it. Like they were talking about it, she's like, "I have it on my phone." And so she started reading this poem and she was like, "I don't want the world to see me because I don't want them to know who I am."
Do you know what song I'm talking about, though?
I do. It's called Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls.
So that's what it was, this Goo Goo Dolls song. And this lady thought that's pretty much my poetry. I'm just giving you Goo Goo Dolls lyrics. Thank you. Just cut all the stuff out right before I froze. We'll just start right on Goo Goo Dolls.
Goo Goo Dolls.
That's recovery is just Goo Goo.
But yeah, I mean, if you ever see the VH1 behind the music about the Goo Goo Dolls, it's pretty fucking to the heart.
The guy from Gin Blossoms is from Tucson. The guy who wrote Hey Jealousy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he died here of alcoholism, actually.
Jesus.
Yeah, you started a band called the Gin Blossoms.
Right? What do you think?
Yeah, poor guy.
So
rest in peace, Gin Blossoms, dude.
So that's why I write, because it sorts my thoughts out in the best way I know how. And I want to say too that I don't think you're inauthentic in your painting, in your art.
No, I never thought you thought that.
But that you said something about being inauthentic in when you're posting it. You're like, I'm just trying to sell you some shit. But
no, yes and no. Like, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not really portraying, I don't know. We're all fake on the internet, dude. That's all I guess I'm trying to say is, yeah.
So please subscribe to our podcast.
We're real on this thing though. Yeah. This is the realest conversations you'll ever hear.
Basically, talk. I mean,
we're like real sex on HBO, but we're talking about recovery. So there's nothing horny at all. It's just kind of weird.
Real recovery on HBO.
Real recovery. It's just, yeah, bathrobes and cigarettes in a circle. God.
So I think that's all of our cues, and that's
all our cues, all of our A's. You saw our A's. Thank you for the cues.
And we'll see you next week, Jerry.
Yeah. And we'll have a special guest for W.
That's right. Your father's going to join us.
Yeah, he wants to talk to us about W. We'll see how this is. And another thing, Jerry.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I. It's going to be great. He always has really good insight.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Later.
Bye.
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.